Hello, and welcome to this week's exciting edition of Victory Never Sleeps. Tonight, we have a very special episode for you. Today is the 77th birthday of our founder. He joins us this evening, taking precious time out of his birthday extravaganza to be here and to share an evening with us. So, Steve, welcome and happy birthday.
Why, thank you, and welcome to all.
Couple of business things before we get into it. Since I last spoke to you, we had a spectacular veteriniter in New Hampshire at Othala Acres. That's our folk builder Ron Boardman's farm.
Cool.
It's awesome. It's an amazing place. His home on that farm is older than our country. It is from the 1760s. A lot of the work on it is from close to the mid 1800s, but it's still pretty old. But parts of it predate the founding of the United States. So it's a really cool building. It's a really cool place, and I got to enjoy time with a lot of amazing people this weekend. Got some new members out of it, and it was fantastic. So thank you to the Boardmans for their amazing hospitality, and thank you for Whit and Cliff Erickson and his lovely wife, Katie, Githia Katie Erickson, for putting the event together, and I think it was spectacular this year. And as a special treat to arrange for the best flights, I flew into Manchester and got a ride with Ron, but I flew out of Cleveland and I drove back with the Ericksons so I could get a on-the-ground look at Fraeshof. It is fantastic. I'm sure many of you by now have seen the pictures, but it is even better in person. What an amazing, amazing property and an amazing building, and I'm very, very excited about our future there. It's really quite spectacular in person. Tonight, like any other show, we are glad to take any and all of your questions that you might have. So if you have questions, please send those in, no matter what platform you are watching this on. And at any time, you can send questions in to vns@runestone.org, and we'd be happy to answer them on our next show. So Steve, how is life treating you? If you want to update anybody on how you've been and what you're up to these days.
Well, I haven't been bored, that's for sure. I think of all you guys often, and I try to keep track of how things are going with AFA. I feel that we are two musical tones that support each other, basically. And I'm always to death and beyond, be loyal to and a part of the AFA. I feel that's something that time does not matter, ages does not matter, mortality does not matter. I got my little thing going on here, Wotan Network, which it's getting some traction in the right places. I'm doing some writing, and I just enjoying life and trying to be better at everything that I do than I am currently. And I think that's one way to spend your time. I don't think you're going to find me in the boredom line of the old people's office or whatever. Life is to be lived full.
That is something that I, and I'm sure many of us, have always really admired about you, is the constant, the never slacking of your will and of your drive. And, in large part, that's what brought us here. And that's why so many of us are tuning in tonight. Our first question of the night comes from Monk. Wants to know, Steve, how did you come to be such a great man?
Well, I had a great mother and father and hung out with great people. Thank you for the little comment there. Appreciate it. I do my best. Do my best every day. I don't want to slack ever. I keep my eyes on my goals. At the same time, I try to be flexible enough to adjust and make a runaround if whatever the first idea was didn't work or whatever. But mostly, I was born to do this. I was born to fight this battle. I may not win it. I pass it on to other people, but I was born to do this. And this doesn't say I'm so hot shot or anything like that. It's just this is just the ticket I got. You know, there's no golden prize on it or anything. But this is what I want to do. I love my people. I will not tolerate their extinction or their degradation. And I want us, all of us, to be representative of that, to be the highest and the noblest that we can be. And do I fall down sometimes? Hell yeah. We all do. Wouldn't be human otherwise. But it's the turmoil, the turnover, the passion of life lived to its fullest, and take a risk, do things, drive on. You know, that's it for me.
Well, so I have kind of a related observation and question. I think that there are a great number of people that feel the way that you do, that, this is super important, and they have an idea and they know that stuff needs to happen, and they've got big dreams and big ideas. But the difference is the vast majority of people with big dreams, big ideas, they don't actually manifest those in the real world. One of the things that's fascinating to me and a lot of our audience is before you did it, other people weren't doing it. And you had to figure out how to craft something from nothing and take those first steps. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people. There's tons of people out there that will say, oh, we support you 100%. Cool. How? Well, we're not members, but we support you. Okay. Well, we don't donate, but we support you. But I won't tell people in public that I know you, but we support you. So I guess the question is, what made the difference between you having a lot of really nice, really good, really positive thoughts and good vibes and turning that into founding, or I guess refounding, the religion of our folk?
I think that the way that was happening and continues to happen is that we just get off our butts and do it. We're not play acting. We do the best to, if it's just one person, if you can bring one person in and show them by the way you live that this is something of power, something of worth, something that is important, not just to us as individuals, not just to us as families, not just to us as the corner clan, who does X and Y and Z. No, this is important to the future of our race and ultimately the human race, which benefits by our successes. Kind of getting on a tree stump, aren't I?
No, that's fine.
You got to get on the tree stumps too. I left that out.
Well, also related. So we have we have two fields on the AFA application. Why are you joining and how did you find out? And up to and including this month, we get people who either are joining the AFA or just found out about the AFA and led them to join from your book. We have people in the chat room tonight talking about how they read your book and they want to know how long it took you to create that book.
I don't remember in terms of the calendar how many days it took or how long it took.
And I should specify your first book.
Okay, roger that. It just, how long? I don't know. 3, 4, 5 months, I'm guessing. Oh, no. Sheila's shaking her head at me and telling me I'm a dumb butt. Okay, say that again.
3, 4, 5 years.
Oh, 3 or 4 or 5 years. Well, yeah. But I mean, I was talking, I guess, more,
But we're talking about the Asatru.
Yeah.
And that took a while.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was a long process.
Yeah. Okay, she corrects me. Her memory is probably better than mine. She measures it in years, and in retrospect, I get that, because it goes stutters a little bit here and a little bit there, and then you go back to something, and then you go in and you proof it over, and you think, no, this isn't any good, and then you do some more stuff, and then you run into people that know more than you do, and you're able to take some of the information from them with their kudos, and it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of effort. You're gonna screw up plenty of times, but don't let that stop you. Pick up your rucksack and drive on. And I had to do that. I'm just a human, Just the thing is insistence. Have a cause that you love in. The cause that you love is something that you believe more in than you do in anything else, and focus on that. Everybody out there who's listening to this could write a book. And I understand there are reasons in your life if you want. You probably, you got kids and you got this and that and the other. But don't forget, there are contributions that you can make every day. Partly for your own personal development and evolution, but for the larger population as well. And take your part. Make your name. You can do this. Win great fame, or at least better fame than we've got now.
Yeah. There you go. Well, I suppose similar, and I got a reminder from Nick, wherever you are watching this, now or later, wherever you're hearing this, like, share, subscribe, do all those little things that bump the algorithm up and get this in front of more eyes and more ears.
Exactly.
Undoubted. And that's literally the easiest thing you can do. So if you're enjoying this, if you are learning from it, better yet, if you are spiritually benefited by it, please share that around. There's other people out there that would, at bare minimum, be interested and enjoy the conversation. And a lot of people might get something really valuable from it, hopefully. But yeah, if you know somebody that might like this program, invite them to listen, to watch, however you consume it. And we're on a lot of different platforms out there. This is our largest audience of outreach. So yeah, help us spread the word if you enjoy what we're doing. And a step further, if you're listening to this and you're watching this, and you are a heterosexual white person wanting to connect with your gods, I hope you're a member. If you're not a member, why not? If you're waiting for the perfect time to join, you're in luck. That perfect time is right now. There is a mythical perfect time I think we all have somewhere in the future. And the trouble with that is it always stays just over that next horizon. So, best time to join is 30 years ago. Second best time is right now. So I would encourage everybody, if you feel so inclined, get your application in and become a member. Also, while I'm on it, I should give you an update on the Frasehoff fundraising, as I tend to do. We've already raised $20,760 for the Hoff, which is fantastic. That is 16.6% of the brand new Hoff that is not even dedicated yet. So that's amazing progress. Also, to keep in mind, total on that is $125,000. So we got
that remaining total is wrong. I forgot to change that.
It's not that wrong though. So yeah, that said, we got a little ways to go, but we have made tremendous progress in just a few months we've been working on it. So thank you guys for your generosity. We appreciate it. Your guys' generosity is how we're able to get stuff like that accomplished. So thank you guys very, very much. Our next question is all right. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat room trying to get it organized in my head. So from Lauren, Founder McNallen, could you please speak of the gifts and blessings you have received from Lord Odin? What are you most grateful for in your life? Hail victory.
Wow, that'd be quite a list. I'm going to start pretty high up on that list and turn around and look at my wife over there doing her work. I've done that marriage thing, and she made it worthwhile. Not to insult anybody anywhere, but she keeps me together. She pushes me on when I need to be pushed on, and I like that incentive. I like being pushed on, not in a pushy way, but come on, we got to do this. We got to do this. We can make a difference, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I like to think that I've had some contributions to make to the larger picture. Could you give me a little more of the phrasing on that, please?
Yeah. Specifically, gifts and blessings that you've received from Odin, and then generally just things you're grateful for in your life.
Yeah. Sitting under the moonlight in the Sahara, finding brave people that are trying to do good things for their themselves and against tyranny in some of the world's crappiest places. Riding in the back of a pickup of people that don't speak your language, but you manage to communicate anyway. And obviously, my first priority is our folk. But I have met good people in the back of those pickup trucks that were of all colors. Not trying to be Mr. Liberal here, but you've got to face the fact that humans are still humans mostly. Sometimes they act like it, as we know. I've had a great life. I don't want to die now. I mean, I've got more stuff to do. There's still the moon and Mars, but I feel that I've been able to cooperate with other peoples to, in some way, represent our people in a way that is good. I think that I have reached the hearts and the souls of a significant number of people. Any way that I can motivate our people, give them the idea that, hey, maybe you just ought to get out there a little bit on the edge. Why are you leading such a calm, safe life? I'm not saying that you should, be rowdy, not rowdy, but endangered, and certainly not, people with kids and so forth. But if you need to make a statement, make a statement. Don't take it back. Influence people that you can influence. Take it from there and live your life fully. You only get one time around, and reincarnation not in the question there, but live largely, but make it useful. Don't throw yourself away behind some cause that is irrelevant. Work for your folk. You are a part of your folk. You are organically connected to that essence. Enjoy that. Delight in that. Think of your own ancestors, what they did, and what you can do. What can you do? How are you going to make that one contribution? How are you going to be the one person who pushes things in a good way just a little bit farther? This is the best time. No, to heck with the Vikings. This is the best time to be alive. You are in the fight. This is not a fight for a battle. This is not a fight over a treasure chest. This is a fight for the future of our people. That is existential. It is dominant. Always. Yes, live large. the way I was talking about a while ago. But live for purpose. Live for purpose. Take up the challenges of our day. You think, oh, I just can't do anything. I'm just an ordinary person. Hell, we're all just ordinary persons. Let's go. Pick up your rucksack, dude. We got stuff to do. And that should be your attitude. I've been a lot of places, done a lot of things. I wouldn't have traded it for anything in the world. I would rather have gone to places that won't be named in Southeast Asia, and that's great. That's great. Live big, but always focus what serves your folk, serves your growth, your abilities, your capabilities, your wondrous ability to take in the world around you, and just go with that. I was with the Karen National Liberation Army for a while, just as an observer, and obviously I wrote stuff on it because I was writing for SOF Mag, and as it was, I was in the headquarters of the Karen National Liberation Army. The monsoon was in full swing. I was soaked. Everybody was soaked. There was no activity, no operations underway. So, I sort of went over and I sat in the headquarters, which of course was a tent, a porous tent that was in fact pouring. And I'm sitting there, people are out, everybody is pretty much hunkered down. I'm in the middle of Burma/Myanmar. I'm probably the only white man within 500 miles until one stumbles in. I'm sitting there in the semi-damped, and more than semi-damped, just soaked. This guy comes in. He's the only white guy I've seen in days and days and days and days, and he has this rifle around his shoulders, and he kind of stumbles in, and pretty high tech looking piece too. And it turns out he's pretty good at those things, but and was ist los? And it's a German guy from Germany who takes his holidays and goes off to help the Karen people. Obviously, my first choice is always my people. But I will do the right thing to help others when it's that time. And plus, I needed the journalism money, which was not much. I don't even remember now. But it wasn't about the real money. That wasn't the point. So I get up to talking with him. His English is excellent. So we're sitting there. We talk about, this is the situation here, and this about such and such a rifle, but he looks over at me, and he says, "What's that in your shirt?" Because my hammer had slipped in between two buttons and was laying there dampened, for all to see. Not that there was anybody else to see it. It was just me and this German guy. And I said, well, this is a Thor's hammer, blah, 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 blah. He reached inside his shirt and pulled out his hammer. The only two white people for hundreds and hundreds of miles. Hell yeah. It was an awesome moment. Build things into your life that feed your soul like that. Your may vary, but the point is, when you get put on the fire or whatever, take with you the memories of life. Take with you the fact that you lived big. Take with you the fact that you made the place better, that you made the future of our people better, and that you had a good time doing it. Life is precious. It is so precious. But there are things larger than keeping it going. I'm kind of going on. Sorry.
You can go. It's your birthday. You go on as much as you want. So our next question, and you can go ahead and take the first stab at it. Edward Thorson calls Odin the Lord of Light and the Triton of Darkness. Can you explain what that means?
Well, for one thing, it sounds really cool. And I'm not knocking on him. I mean, he is, yeah, he's a very much valid scholar and all of that. But I mean, I've got my particular attitude. He's got his. I have to look at that as the idea that Odin can operate in two modes. He can inspire people who need inspiration. He can show us new ways of doing things. He can turn on our mental lights. He can help us to understand the universe around us, the multiverse around us better. But don't mess with him, because when it comes down to means, he will do whatever it takes. And I think that's just realistic. I mean, again, there I go with the military situation again. But yeah, there are certain things that have to be done, and the long run in it is favorable, at least to somebody, and that's usually us. And I'm good with that. I'm kind of going on about this, but the personality has got both sides to that, and there are going to be times that you can be the scholar. There's going to be times that you can be the ice cream salesman down at the corner. But if somebody comes up and puts a knife under your wife's face, you know what to do. No regrets. That's just sort of my thing on it. Be flexible, I guess. Be all-encompassing. Be broad enough to understand both ends of it, but to find that often that twilight spot in the middle. And at one time or another, you will have to find those extremes.
Absolutely. I think one of those big, I think you're uniquely qualified to answer the question because you have a very special relationship with the Allfather, and you also know Dr. Flowers very well. I think it's worth noting, among Odin's by names, Grimnir, and a lot having to do with him being terrifying and grim and dark and all of those things. And I think we emphasize that heavily in imagery and stuff, but it's also important to note that his home is in Gladsheim, the home of gladness. He's able to be different things to different people at different times. That's one of the really standout characteristics, is just how many different names he was known by, because in different circumstances to different people at different times, he was able to show different facets of himself. And I think that flexibility, that ability to shape himself for the circumstance and for what's needed at the time, is a very important characteristic in understanding and in learning from his wisdom. The next question is, how do you both, Matt and Steve, use the runes? Which Futhark do you use? And what are your thoughts on the Futhorc and Northumbrian runes? Steve, what say you?
I do almost all my work with the 24 elders. Yeah, and it's just habit. I think they're, in a way, I just feel that they are more, quote, complete, but I know that's not entirely accurate, but it meets my way, and it works right for me. Let's see. I'm sorry. And after that, okay.
You have tattoos.
Yeah. This is a fairly new thing. And it's I think related to what you were talking about a moment ago, but it just came to me. Oh my gosh, I got to pass this on. So forgive me if I've kind of barged in. We can always, I mean, it's relevant, but it's, in regards to communication with the gods, the goddesses, we have, of course, the casting of runes and so forth and so forth and so forth. And then I got to thinking about Carl Jung and his notion of the gods as archetypes. And then I started thinking, well, then, so how does one communicate with those archetypes? And of course, Jung was the big guy of the what's the term? Turns on the tip of my tongue. Coincidences, meaningful coincidences, are in a way exactly equivalent in that respect in terms of communication to the runes or for whatever. And so I thought, well, I'm going to pay attention to that kind of synchronicity, and it dialed in. I took the Elder Futhar, and I thought, I'm going to cast these runes to see if I should go and try to go into Africa and do X and Y and Z. And I don't have the figures in front of me, but the way it worked out, if I thought I'd have them in front of me, if anybody wants to know, I'll pass them on to you as to the actual numbers that it came out. 24 runes in the Futhar, pull it out, got a rune. Okay, well, all right, put it back in, reshuffled, reached in, and this is with no tactile and certainly no visual factors whatsoever. Pulled it out again, another one, the same one in 24. Put it back in, carefully randomized. I mean, I'm taking this really seriously. Reached in, pulled it out, same one, 24. And I pumped the odds on that, and it came down to 1 million, however many, but well more than 1 in a million to get that particular draw. And I took it that was my meaning to me, saying that yes, I needed to go, and so I did, and I didn't regret it. Yeah, could it be a quote accident? Sure, but how would you like to live on those kind of odds? I mean, I think the gods can speak to us through Jungian symbolism and for the odds drawn or something like that. It's amazing, really amazing. I invite folks to give that a try and see how that works in their lives.
Do you have any thoughts on the Futhorc or the Northumbrian runes?
I don't know enough about them to really make much of a statement on that. I think that all the different styles work, and maybe that it interacts with one's own personality and what they want to get out of it. Not what they want to get in terms of an answer, but in terms of the style or perhaps their ancestral relations and so forth. So that's, I think by all means, they're all worth examining. But I've stuck pretty much with our 24s.
So I'm trying to think of where to start on it. I get the question. I think a lot of people, oh, runes, that's cool. These are awesome. What do we do with them? And I think there's a lot of different things and a lot of different ways you can incorporate them. What I think now, every now and again, I would use them in a divinatory way, but most often I do that to bestow gifts on babies at baby namings. Um, in that, I ask the Nornir to give the child runic blessings, and I draw runes according to each Nornir, and I interpret those. But most often, I like to trying to think of it again. Words escape me on the best way to encapsulate it, but I enjoy invoking runes for purpose through Galder, but I also really enjoy runes as a lens to see the world around me. I think that when you are focused on the runes, you notice a lot of the synchronicities that occur, kind of like you were talking about, but in less of a draw way and more of a just things in your life. If you're focused on the runes, you will start seeing runic correlations in your day, in the world around you, and likely do that in an auspicious way. Certainly do that in a mindful and a aware way. And I think that's really important, and I think it's really helpful. I think they shape your perception of the world. I think they shape your perception of Earth and its unfolding around you. So I think that's really important. I almost always, if not always, use the Elder Futhark. I think the Elder Futhark is inherently magical. It's got the spiritual meanings that you want laid out in a way that makes sense and is accessible. I think the other developments, with a couple of different things having asterisks by them, but I think the other developments are largely linguistic and for using runes in writing, which is fine. I think that the Futhark is the best to try to write English words in because it's built to make Anglo-Saxon noises.
Yeah.
So, I think linguistically that makes the most sense to write in English with. What I find extremely fascinating about the Northumbrian runes, though, are the last four, the quote unquote Grail runes. And I think that is really intriguing and a really meaningful link between Germanic concepts, Celtic concepts, and the Ur version of, the Arthurian cycle. I think it's really, I forget the order, Calc, Stan, Gar, and Querth, I think. But I find those really interesting, and I've spent a lot of time trying to look into those and delve for deeper meanings in those. And something that I think is really useful when contemplating those runes in specific and their relation to, the greater Aryan primordial myth of the Holy Grail before it became a Christian interpretation. Mysteries of the Grail, or Mystery of the Grail by Julius Evola, I think is really interesting. It was, I don't know that it's the best book by Evola, but it's the one that captured my imagination the most when I read it. All right, the next one is, how does the AFA view the National Alliance? has similar ideology and rune logo and has property in Tennessee. Steve, did you ever have any interaction with Dr. Pierce or any overlap between National Alliance members and AFA members?
I knew a couple of members back in the years. Never met the guy running it or anybody who was particularly, high up in it. And I haven't seen any of their material in years and years. I wasn't even sure if they were still functioning. So, yeah, I think that different organizations want to do things to be helpful, but it's very easy to do things that become very unhelpful along the way. These are interesting times.
Yeah, I don't. There is not an official AFA, embracing or condemnation of the National Alliance. I'd have to say, I mean, obviously there's overlap in, some political interests, certainly overlap in wanting the best for our race. Yeah, they use a rune as a logo. And I respect Dr. Pierce. I can't claim to be an expert on all of their activities or stuff they do. I'm under the impression that they are effectively defunct, although I know that there are people that claim to be, some kind of, I guess, descendant of that organization, but I don't think it's the same thing that it was, to my understanding, but correct me if I'm wrong. But the cosmotheism bit seems like atheism with frosting on it. Like, it seems like, let's make cool flavored atheism. I don't think it's a sincere faith. I don't think it is taken sincerely or means sincere things. I think it falls into a category that traditional people know that religion is important and necessary. They also reject Christianity because of its inherent alienness to our folk. But they aren't quite there. They don't know how to or haven't yet built that relationship with the ICEER. And so they're left to, well, if we need religion and we should have religion, what should we have? And if you have a quote unquote religion that's decoupled from actual belief in divinity, then it can take some, you can kind of do whatever you want with it and make up whatever justifications, because it's not built on divine truth. It's built on you wanting to have something that's, you need, but you don't really believe in, but it needs to meet your purposes. And I think it's unfortunate, because I've met some people that view that as a, I don't know. I think that gives a morale boost to white power flavored atheism. And I don't think that's beneficial for our people. Steve, as you've always said, ours is a spiritual struggle. And I think that politics is downstream of religion. And if you're backed by sincere faith in real gods of your folk and a real relationship with those gods, I think you are optimally poised to meet the challenges of your life, be they political, be they personal, be they professional, or anything else. And I think that as long as you're glorifying something that's not really a sincere faith, it takes energy and momentum away from doing this, which I think, our shared folk should be doing. Going back a little bit, okay. Steve, do you plan on writing more books, or is the last book you published going to be the last?
Yeah, there probably will be another. I'm not quite sure where I want to put the emphasis on it. Yeah, my other two, of course, are very different in so many ways, but I think they can work together quite well. And I'm not sure what I will write next. I probably will, because this is what I do. But I don't really have it honed down as to the question or whatever.
Diane,
Whoops, hang on, ein Moment.
you have your Cauldrons book.
Oh, I got reminded. I got reminded by my wife that actually I am working on another book. Yeah, well, we have ways. Yeah, and it will focus on the methodology that I put together, I think, by some considerable inspiration, the cauldrons. The cauldrons being comparable to three main chakras, and don't get to thinking this is some meditating on your navel and chant in Sanskrit or something. Quite the opposite. It's got considerable, I think, background that could be justified in a scholarly manner, and a little lot to expand on right now, maybe another time. But the idea is, the three centers are cauldrons, one down in the belly, another one in the heart, and the other one up here. Colors, black on the bottom, red in the middle, obviously, and then the change, the might is here, which sounds simplistic, not just simple, but simplistic. But when you look at it with some depth, I find it's quite the other way, and I'm having fun doing it. I've got most of it put together. I've got some things I want to switch around with and maybe put more meat in it, so to speak. But it's become my personal practice in many ways. Not that I disregard other things, floats and offerings to gods and so forth. But it works okay for me. Yeah. I don't know when it's going to be finished. If I could buckle down to it, which I keep telling myself literally day after day for the past week, Steve, you could knock this baby out in 24 hours, and I think I probably could. Something else always comes up. The car needs this, or the X needs that, or the Y is discombobulated, or whatever. But I think you can hear some more coming from it pretty soon.
Carl wants to know, Founder, I need your opinion. If you had to choose one, what would be your favorite symbol of the gods?
Wow. I haven't actually thought of that. I feel like about a week ago I was inching close to something like that works, and in fact it's still back in there somewhere. Now I'll probably go to bed and come up with it. But yeah, I think that there can be an overarching symbol that ties it all together. But I don't know. Catch me in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll have it. Seriously. So
fair enough. Mr. McNallen, are you trying to make the journey east this December for Phrasehoff dedication? Before you answer that, this is a good time to remind everybody. Austintown, Ohio, December the 6th. We are dedicating Phrasehoff. Let's say once in a forever event. So you should be there if you can. I would invite any of you guys to make the trip and be there. Please talk to one of your folk builders if you want more information. And Steve, are you planning to attend?
There it is.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Excellent. Well, that will be a boon for everyone there, is to get to see you and have you present as we do that dedication. And that's exciting. I know, I talked to people a little bit about that this last weekend at Veteriniter, and they're very excited. They're very excited that you and Sheila are going to come out. I didn't tell them 100%. I said we check and make sure, but I was pretty sure. So
Yeah,
that's going to be fantastic.
it's, I'm half Irish, so I love to talk and be glad to have some good conversations with people.
Well, I know people would be happy to have, I think they would be overjoyed to have conversations with you. So that's awesome.
Actually, I was having some serious thoughts about the whole Irish situation over the past weeks, and it looks sort of like a diagram, where there's all this hassle that's building up, and it hasn't hit the other side yet, and as it turns out, I think it is interesting that the Irish people and the English people are facing the same problems in terms of immigration and the sovereignty of their own countries, and so forth and so forth. And wouldn't it be nice if, for once, the Celts and the Germans could get together and turn away people who are radically different from us and who want to absorb us? We could use a lot fewer casualties on both sides of the Irish and the English. It's too close to brother wars. We need to not do that stuff. No more brother wars. We have enough foes, real foes, to get too wound out about it. That's what I think.
All right. So here's an interesting question. What do either of you think of Crawford's theory that Allfather is a mistranslation and it should instead be All Shaper or All Orderer? Steve, do you have any thoughts on that?
To be honest, I don't. I don't. I might have run across that at some point, but it didn't stick with me. I don't know. That's a interesting thought. It's always good to check out, possibilities. Whether it will bear fruit, I have no idea.
So I don't want to come out too hard on it, not hearing Dr. Crawford present what his point is, what his theory is. But no, it's not a mistranslation at all. The original text is really, really clear, at least in the Gylfaginning. Oden heitir Allfather, því at han father allra goda. It's really obvious that the word father is used there twice. Translates in English as Odin is called Allfather because he's the father of all the gods. That's not a translation error. That's exactly what the text says. Now, if his fault is with Snorri and he thinks that Snorri got the message wrong or something, that'd be a different argument. But it's certainly not a mistranslation of the Old Norse. Which, I mean, he is an Old Norse expert, so that's why I said, I'm not going at him. I'm going at the thing that was just presented to me. I think that, he knows Old Norse better than I do, and he can read as well as I can, so he knows what I just said. But yeah, I mean, certainly shaping and ordering is, I don't think it would be incorrect for Dr. Crawford to start fresh naming him the All Orderer or All Shaper. I don't think that's incorrect. He and his brothers shaped our existence out of the body of Emir. They shaped our soul as Aryan men and women. Yeah, I don't find that to be wrong, but it's just not a mistranslation of the literal All Father that's very plainly presented in the Gylfaginning. This question is from Matt. How do you choose new locations to open a new HOF? Is it just small towns that happen to be majority demographically white? Suggestions. Many folks in Idaho need one there. Every place there are white people, we need HOFs to our gods. Absolutely, that is true. So it is a complex matrix of things. I don't think that the demographics have to be majority white at all. Matter of fact, I think we get think in our head that's like the most favorable place to put one, but realistically, I think in places with a drastic minority whites is probably where one is needed the most. I think those people are uniquely aware of their need to celebrate themselves, their heritage, and their gods. But I think that all comes into play in a little bit different ways. So, we need. All right, when the process starts, I start looking around for churches for sale in wherever. The places that I start searching are places that we have a good number of AFA members within a 3-hour radius. I think 3 hours is about the max distance for monthly attendance to a HOF. I mean, we have some superstars that go above and beyond that, and that's awesome. But I think that's kind of the target is a 3-hour radius. More than just that. So we need a stable community of people to take care of a HOF. When we get a HOF and we dedicate that to one of our gods, we make a commitment to maintain that HOF in perpetuity. That's all part of that gift that we're giving to the gods. And it would be a great shame to us if we were not able to live up to that. So when we get a HOF, it needs to be somewhere we can count on having the infrastructure to take care of it and to attend it regularly. So we don't just need members there. We need leaders. We need people who have stepped up to volunteer, certainly to be folk builders. But beyond that, if we're going to have a HOF, we need Gothar to man the HOF and to lead and to provide blotar to the Aesir. And so we need Gothar there. I would love to see a HOF in Idaho. Absolutely. I'd love to see a HOF everywhere. If you are in Idaho and you want a HOF near you, and this is the rub, and I hope that as we continue to get more HOFs, this will be an easier thing to conceptualize. The fastest way for you to get a HOF near you is for you to help us pay off the HOF we have in Austintown, Ohio. Because as soon as we're done with that, we'll move to Tiershof. And we will continue as long as we have the infrastructure to support the HOFs. I said this when we paid off Odenshof, and it, some people, cocked an eyebrow at me, but it's what got us one in North Carolina, in Minnesota, in Florida, and now in Ohio. It's a method that works. Beyond that, if you're in Idaho and you want a HOF in Idaho, volunteer to folk build in Idaho, excel at folk building in Idaho, and then pursue being ordained as a Gothi in Idaho. And that would significantly accelerate Idaho being on the map of somewhere we need to get a HOF. Other thing is we look for as I said, we go looking for churches for sale. Now, we would consider other charitably zoned buildings. Uh, Churches uniquely fit the things we need. They often have kitchen facilities, multi-purpose room facilities, worship space facilities, and they're built for white people getting together to worship. That's how those buildings came about, and it makes them very well suited. And they also come with a zoning that's appropriate for what we're doing, which is also very important. On top of that, finding something that has the right, has a good enough building, but also has good enough land and is in at a price point that we could afford. And all of those things going together can make it a little bit of a challenge depending on where we look. But we start looking pretty far out to try to get the best things figured and to make good choices on it. But also, and most importantly, during the entire process, I'm sure others do this as well, but I spend a lot of time in prayer, asking whoever the God is of the Hoff that we're going to dedicate, to help guide us towards something that they would, approve of and that they would find beneficial and worthy of them, and helping them guide our efforts. I believe very much that the ICR guide our efforts in getting these Hoffs, with the caveat that we've got to be putting in the work. I don't ever want to miss out on a Hoff for one of our gods because I was slacking, because I wasn't looking hard enough, because I wasn't out there, trying to find every way to make the fundraising work or whatever other elements. I want myself and the rest of AFA leadership to be giving it our all. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, then it wasn't meant to be. But the important part is we got to be doing our part. If we're all out there looking, thinking, examining, trying to make the best decision we can and asking for the blessings of the gods, then, I trust that they'll guide us in the right direction. And so far, they absolutely have. So Austin says, "Happy birthday, Founder McNallen. Which Etic poem is your favorite?"
Well, thanks for the birthday celebration. I think that the Hauptmal really kind of says it to me. The whole idea of the creation of the cosmos and its changes and so forth. It always appeals to me. It's very visual. There's a part of me that was scientist. And I'm not saying that we should submit the Etic poems to a scientific examination at all, but nonetheless, it's the formation of the cosmos and its manifestation. But they're priceless little pieces run throughout the Eddas that can appeal, especially to the individual. And you if you're lucky, you can find just the right stanzas that make your day. A lot of people make almost a divination thing, is to open up some of the poems and see if it turns out that it can give you an idea of what your day is going to be like. Incredible things have worked out through that sort of divination. Things happen where the chances are maybe 1 in a few hundred that it would have come out the way it did, and I find that works so pretty well with divination in general. But the Etic material is multi-purpose. I find that you can just like the rhythm of it and the the articulation of it, or you can be enthused about the story in it, and it's a wealth. It's a wealth, So it's hard for me to say that there's any one, uh, but the material in the half a mile appeals to me greatly.
All right. How much and how long will Tiershoff take to build? So it's a fine question. Anybody who doesn't know, Tiershoff is going to be our first purpose-built Hoff. It's going to be built on our property in Jackson County, Tennessee. It's going to be built in the north field of that property. And so the answer is I don't know, but I'm trying to give you the details that I do know to add some value to your question. We are currently trying to work out the particulars on that. I would like to, and I'm in the process of creating plans that, all right, it would be the more labor we can get from AFA members, the better. I think, yes, there is a significant cost saving involved, but I think there's also a spiritual value of our people being able to put in the labor to build that. So I'd like to see as much of that as we can. But I'm also realistic, and I know that sometimes having the right people in the right place at the right time doesn't always, those things don't always match up the way that we would like. So I also want the plans to be actionable to take to a contractor and say, hey, build this. Perhaps, and it's my hope that through the AFA, we can get AFA contractors and AFA professionals along with AFA volunteers to make the process happen. As far as how long, it all depends on what we do. What I would like, and this is with the how much too, what I would like to see happen if we can is to split the project up into phases to where we can fundraise for a phase, get our people involved in that, make that first step, and then fundraise and build the second step and third and so on and so forth until it's done. We have had a really big expansion in our Hoffs over the last 10 years. We have gone, over the last exactly 10 years, we have gone from 0 Hoffs to 5 Hoffs. That's awesome, and we needed a lot of catching up to do on that. We're currently not in a place with the numbers we have right now to go beyond Tiershoff. So while we wait for our member number and our income to increase, we want to spend time doing Tiershoff right, focusing on that and putting our attention there. And hopefully, as we do this, those other numbers will come up. But it also gives us a little bit of time to work that out and to do that process. It being something completely new to us, it could go up super quick and be amazing, or we could run into, some unexpected things and it could be a little bit longer process. So time will tell on that. We are currently, like I was talking today with a guy that's helping me, we are working on narrowing down the dimensions and the plan that we want for Tiershoff. So we've got that ready to, we're going to certainly have something to show you and some cost ideas, at least for portions of it, so we can be ready to go as soon as Phrasehoff is paid off. If every single AFA member wanted to pay $140 towards paying off Phrasehoff right now, then you guys would force my hand and I would have to get, by dedication, a plan for you guys on Tiershoff. I'm going to try to do that anyway or get as close as I can to have something to show you and go for it. But as soon as we get Phrasehoff paid off, we're going to be working on Tiershoff for certain. But yeah, and I know that doesn't answer your question. The trouble is, I truly don't know how much money it'll take and how long it'll take. Like I said, labor is usually about 50% of the cost. And if we have AFA folks that can put in the labor, that's whatever number I give you in half. But we're currently trying to work that out. And as I said, we should know a little bit more as we get closer. Do both of y'all know of or who Pentylincola is? I think you could tell with how I pronounce that I do not, and I have no idea. Steve, do you know?
I've heard the name Linkola, but I don't remember the context. Sounds Finnish to me, but that's about all I know.
You are absolutely right, sir. It is Finnish. I don't know who he is, but he is an environmentalist, an ornithologist, a naturalist, a writer, and there's a YouTube video called Pentylincola, Environmental Extremist or Prophet of Doom. I don't know.
Okay.
There you have it. Also, is your property going to be striving to both influence the surrounding areas, but also become self-sufficient in about everything you can? No, we're not striving for self-sufficiency. It's just not that kind of property. That's not really our mission there. Influence our surroundings. Absolutely. We want to do that any place we go. We would love to have the best relations we can with the communities that we find ourselves in. We want to be good neighbors. That's, an important value to us. And Jackson County, Tennessee is a very nice place that I think we have a lot of opportunity to be, an important part of that community and to really build a solid foundation there. And that's what we're looking forward to doing. Steve, what do you hope for the AFA in the next 30 years? Thank you for everything you've done, and happy birthday from the Sutherlands.
Oh, well, thank you, Sutherlands. Always good to hear from you guys. Hope you're all doing well. What I hope for the AFA in the next 30 years? World domination and galactic colonization. Okay, maybe not this time, but I think that Matt will guide it in wise ways. I think that what most of us would like to see is a growth which takes into consideration that the environment that we'll be working in, the social environment could get all weird in the future, and I think we have to at least be aware of that and prepared to take care of each other. I don't know a lot about Mormons, but just from my third cousin whatever's, they're good at organizing that stuff. I think Matt's good at organizing stuff. And there will be different challenges. It's a little hard to be optimistic about the future. The situations that we face will be substantial, I'm sure. And that's why we need to consider all the reasonable options. Make a list, and I'm sure that's ultimately something like that will happen. We need to keep the message going. We need to not relent. We need to get a supportive culture that will side with us and realize why we're doing whatever it is that we're doing at that particular time. And that takes a certain grace. It takes a certain knowledge. But I'm absolutely convinced that we can do that. Don't know how much of that I'll be around to see, but I'll be sitting there looking on. So I think just make good choices, emphasize professionalism, hit just the right pitch on certain issues. We must always care about and have as number one, our folk, working with it and making us holier, making us more connected to the gods, making us more connected to each other, making us more connected to ideas. And actually, we've got a lot of good ideas, but we must not be afraid to implement that and to carry on, so that 100 years from now, 200-300 years from now, there are AFAers throughout the solar system, if that's what we decide to do. Actually, Earth is pretty cool too, and I may hang around here for a while. But that's pretty much the way I see it. There will be trials. There will be lots of difficulties. There are plenty of people that would like to annihilate us. We must be the kind of people who can keep our guts together, keep our guts, our hearts, and our mind all functioning in liaison, so that we can bring in the kind of people we want and do our mission. Our mission is a holy one. It will always be a holy one, and I'll be looking on. So don't think you're going to get by on anything.
All right. So I'm not sure if you've got the chat pulled up on yours or you're looking at it, but just so you know, we have dozens and dozens of happy birthdays and folks singing your praises as well. They should. I got a question that came in on the email. I see claims that people are returning to Christianity in droves because of Charlie Kirk. There are a lot of claims that he was killed for being Christian. Do you think these two things are true? Steve, do you have thoughts on that?
I have thoughts on that, but it's mostly curiosity. I'm kind of aware of this backing and forthing and various forces influencing one side and something else happening somewhere else. It's difficult. He seems to have been a good man, and it's too bad that what happened. Who is behind it? Well, they're just all interesting people behind all sorts of things these days, it seems. I'm not in any position to, I don't have any more knowledge than anybody else does, really. But these are tumultuous times. There are forces working behind everything we do. Some of them are good. Some of them are about as bad as they get. And we need to be able to cultivate the good, find the people that are on our side, find the people that are sincerely on our side, and who will put effort into it. I think we're going to see some, quote, interesting times, unquote, in the next few years. I don't know how that will manifest, which is why we all have to stick together. We got to get each other's backs. We've got to have ways of protecting ourselves from, economic crisis and all this stuff. I'm no scholar, but I think that there's going to be a lot of issues to deal with, and we need to work together in a way that we can ride out the storm and watch the rainbow in the end.
Yeah. To the two questions. Yes, lots of people are returning to Christianity because of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Is that going to be a lasting trend? I don't know. I think that assassination rocked a lot of people, and myself and my family included. It's when someone is killed in a spectacular way where it draws the attention of the world and the nation, I think that it's really easy to retcon your feelings about that person. I was never a Charlie Kirk fan in his life. I think the differences that I had here are largely because of our very different faiths. And I think the weakness that his faith imbues in its followers. I think that's the crux of it. But I will say this. Wasn't a big Charlie Kirk fan. I have a lot of respect for Charlie Kirk. That was
Same
something
here.
he sincerely believed. And he had the courage to stand by the things that he believed, to put himself, I mean, obvious hindsight's 2020, but even at the time, to put himself in dangerous situations or in uncertain situations, to be an advocate for the things he believed in. And he had the courage to discuss his beliefs and his ideas openly. I think that, in a lot of the common sense things that he talked about, certainly we agree because we're not insane. And the left has gone so far into complete demonic chaos, whatever that means to whoever's listening. A lot of people in normal times, a pretty big divergence, find ourselves side by side against the tide of just complete degeneracy, destruction, and chaos. But yes, certainly lots and lots of people going back to church because of it from a lot of different places. What I will say I am saddened and greatly offended by, but also thankful for the cause of Asatru. At his funeral, his widow went up there and made a big point of forgiving the people who assassinated him. And that's probably what he would have wanted, but it paints in very stark contrast Christianity and our faith and Asatru and, things that are right and wrong.
Yeah.
It is wrong to give blanket forgiveness to people that brutally murder the people that you love. That's bad. And I think every fiber of our being knows that that's bad. And that, I think, is something that pumped the brakes on a number of people in that, that run back to church that a lot of people were doing. I think a lot of people like, maybe not. Did he die for his Christianity? I think in a way, yes. I don't think it was just that. And I think, there are a lot of theories. I think that his Christianity was such an integral part of everything that he did that just like he lived for his Christianity, he certainly did die for it in that sense. But I don't know if the specific cause of his death was, directed at Christianity as much as it was directed at traditional worldview, at awareness of disproportionate Israeli influence on things, or any number of things in between. But I certainly think that his core belief system was was the key of why he was assassinated, and he would say that was Christ. So, and like I said, I have tremendous respect, and his assassination moved me and my family to our core. Not going to go worship Jesus, but I respect Charlie Kirk a lot. Does the AFA hand out pamphlets, go door to door, or how does it recruit? So we are trying to get some pamphlets figured out to be at the ready when people are interested. No, we don't go door to door. How do we recruit? Poorly. So I wish that we recruited better, and that's always been a hard nut for us to crack. I don't think anything would be fundamentally wrong if we did go to door, or if we did, stand on the street corner with pamphlets. Trouble is, we don't have a lot of people willing to do that. A lot of our people are not willing to go stand somewhere and hand out pamphlets, and they're certainly not willing to go door to door to annoy people. And I say that going door to door is obnoxious, and so I'm probably not pro that, especially coming from a Jehovah's Witness background. I'm aware that it's obnoxious. I think that the pamphlet thing is a cool idea if people actually want to do it. Trouble is, we just don't have people that are willing to do that. Getting some pamphlets for people to hand out to folks that want to, though, I think is a really good idea. As far as how do we recruit, so much of it's word of mouth. We recruit through existing in the real world, doing stuff, which our Hoffs are a huge step forward in doing that in a real world, organic way. We recruit, we generate a lot of interest through this show. That's why I do the cheesy like, share, and subscribe. I do that so this gets in front of more eyes, because it's a big factor in bringing our folk home. Twitter or X is, I'd say, our next biggest way of getting the word out. Get a lot of people that join because they found out about us there. So that's the reality of how we end up recruiting. We also, as our members and specifically our folk builders get bolstered in their courage, we also recruit by conversation, by word of mouth with people we know, by putting the word out there and having conversations with people when stuff comes up. We got to look for those openings. But that brings a lot of people to us. So that's what we've got right now. And, saying that out loud, obviously we need to figure out better recruitment strategy. But that's so far what we do. Steve, happy birthday again. What made you choose Northern California as the location for the very first Hoff? Was it just beautiful surroundings, or did the gods call you there?
Probably more the latter, but circumstantially, friends and relatives in the area. I can see. I'm trying to. Wow, was that after I got out of the Army?
Yes.
Yeah.
We came to California after the Army.
Yeah.
But we got the Hoff because it was near where we lived, where the AFA was.
Yeah. It was a post-military situation, kind of. New people in the area. It was all good. That said, I will always be a Texan. Period. But that's I can tolerate California, and maybe make the place a little better. I don't know. But it's not bad. We can do good stuff out here. What was the other part of that?
Just what made you go there? What made that be the center from which the rest of this was built around?
Yeah, well, I think I pretty much covered it. There's a lot of people here. There's a surprisingly number of people who share a certain amount of our ethos. So here I was.
What made you move out there originally?
Wow. Let's see.
It was Linda.
Oh.
Married a gal from Trouble.
Yeah, I had married a girl from Turlock years ago, and so that's kind of what I knew about California and its good points and its bad points, and so yeah, I had those kind of roots for a while. So.
Okay. Steve, would story time be possible? A seasonal reading of October Women, perhaps?
October women.
Yeah,
Oh,
come on.
wow. Yeah.
Okay.
October
I have a
women.
copy of it.
And I don't see why not.
Okay.
I was tempted
I'll
this
print
is-
it off for you.
to suggest something that. Oh, excuse me. I got my mouth is too dry. I have to put some liquid on it here in a minute.
Right there. There's your
Oh, is that mine?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's your-
du bist wunderbar.
I'll get to your October one.
And Sheila's doing something with October Women over there now. Yeah, I love it. I think it's a nice piece. Yeah, I was honored to see it used recently.
Good deal. Well, while you get to that, I see some talk over in the chat room about the door-to-door ministry that isn't. So I have had really good interactions lately with two Mormon elders that are in their early 20s at the park that I take my daughter to. They tend to go through there on their bicycles when I'm there often. And I've spent hours and hours talking to these guys. And I am genuinely, like, when I say curious, like I'm not interested in converting, but I'm very curious how their theology and their church operates. I've got a lot of questions about Mormonism, but I make sure that they know that it's like an equal exchange of things. So they're trying to convert me, but I'm also trying to convert them. So they ask me a bunch of questions about Asatru because they're genuinely interested in it. Like they're at least, interested in learning about it. And so we've had these really good back and forths. I mean, we talk for hours and hours about different stuff. I'm sitting there anyway, so it's a fun thing to do. It's interesting conversation, but yeah, it's instructive in, I don't know, learning how to answer some of those questions to different people who are out proselytizing, how to have kind of that conversation with them and talking to them a little bit about their experience with doing it. So that's been fascinating. It's really been interesting talking to those kids about religion in general, and come to find out, because they get their phones issued by the Mormon Church, they are not, runestone.org is blocked. They cannot go to our website and find out about us, lest they abandon Jesus and embrace their true gods.
Okay. Sheila just brought me a copy of October Women.
Whenever you would like, it is all yours.
Sorry, say again.
Whenever you would like, floor is yours.
Okay. All right. I don't have my glasses, but I think it's in large enough print that I can do it.
Oh, shoot. But you have glasses.
9. Oh, yeah. Wait.
You do?
This is this. You don't have my good ones on, do you?
No, I don't have mine.
We have assorted pairs of glasses around here. Yeah, none of them have seen at any recent time by an ophthalmologist. But as my eyes get worse, yeah, it helps. So here it is. Here's Steve the Nerd. This was inspired by a poem, a longer piece, really about October and the transition in terms of spirit and in terms of just the way we feel the world around us, as autumn comes on. And I liked it, and so I used it for another piece. October Women. Can you hear her? Can you hear them? Shut your eyes and listen through the dark. Rustle crackle, crunch on the leaves, once green, now brown, like Freya's cloak. Green cloaks are for growing things and for tossing on the grass for a love bed. Brown cloaks, like fallen leaves and bare earth, are for covering and concealing for October. Ray Bradbury knows about October, but he doesn't know about her. Or it wouldn't be his thumbs that prickle when frost circles the moon like her necklace and is too cold to make love on the stark ground. Maybe he hears the ones behind her and fears the deseer, creaking bones, dried up skin bags, wrinkles like old apples in the straw. But Bradbury's got October right, at least as far as he goes. Summer's end, no more long days to run in the sun and play in fields like children. It's adult time now. Indoors, school books open, turn pages. Turn inward and keep the fire lit all night. Falling leaves turn to falling snow, but the ancient ladies ignore the chill. Out in the paddock stands the burial mounds, stones all icy, but the deseer don't care. They cackle and call as though the air was warm and flowers bedecked the barrow in the sun. You can hear them better this time of year without the humming of the insects or the sighs of lovers moving over the grass. The deseer, those ancient women, call to you. Mothers, grandmothers, cousins, and kin of old, they hail and halloo as though they'd never left the fireside. Remember to feed the animals, the deseer say, and brew the fine beer that will keep you cheery. It's not too cold to take off your clothes under the cover, especially if you've someone to snuggle with. Keep a log on the family's honor and know that summer lies beyond the snow. Creaking bones and leathery skin, wrinkles, cracked voices, age-dulled eyes. Mr. Bradbury should know Freya better than that. October is now, but springtime is forever. And the deseer call us from verdant vistas. Their eyes shine brightly, and their supple bodies twist and weave as they dance in the sun. You can make it, they say, and as usual, they're right. There it is. There it
Well,
is.
thank you for that.
Sorry?
I said, well, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah. Well, hell, I'm an October guy, so you know. Yeah. I'll take off my glasses so I can see.
So do you have a favorite time of year? And if so, what is it?
I think it probably is October. I guess I'm just prejudiced. But there's that. It's always, it's high school football games. It's the changing of the leaves. It's that nip to the air. It's the wondering, oh, no, maybe I should wear the coat out tonight. It's I don't know. I don't think I like it because I was born then, particularly, but it's just got an appeal for me. Give me a sweater, and I'm good to go, man.
What is something about Steve that other folks probably don't know that you'd like to share with people?
Ooh. What would that be? Got a good idea, Sheila? Because you know me pretty well.
I do.
What is something that you know about me? Maybe I'm getting into dangerous waters here. Well, most people might not know that. Hang on. I was thinking of one a little bit earlier today. when I was in high school, I was perhaps slightly to the right. And in high school, I was active with or in touch with the Cuban exile movement in Florida. And I had connections with Comandos L and Alpha 66 and other organizations of that sort. I don't think that I was breaking the law by doing this, but my freshman year in high school, college, yeah, bad enough. I was in ROTC, and I was walking through the ROTC building one day, and I look in the office, and there's this huge trash can full of field manuals. And I say, "Hey, Tom, what's with the full can here?" He says, they're bunches of old field manuals. Yeah, they're outdated. I mean, they're still usable, but we can't keep them on the shelf, so we just tossed them in the trash. So they're yours. I said, "Oh, really?" And within a matter of days, those particular manuals were in Miami, Florida. So, I've always been active on the anti-communist end of things. I support anti-communist causes just about anywhere. And that was especially the emphasis, like a few decades ago. But now we've got our market Marxists, running up through things and one thing or another. But that was pretty much. That was Steve in his teens, his lower teens, higher teens, one thing or another.
How about this story going to Brownwood? That's a good one with the time of year this is. When you went to the debates.
I know. I've got another one that I think might be a little more interesting.
Okay.
And so we'll require that's just a quick. Damn. Hell. I had a good idea this morning, and now I don't know what it was. Let me glance this piece of paper here. I did, in fact, do a few notes. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Africa. I had gotten out of the Army while I was still stationed in Germany. Call it a European out. And within days, I had packed up my rucksack and headed for. I crossed over closer to the Mediterranean, right along the coast there. But went as far over as Algeria, hung a right, and hitchhiked or walked through the Sahara. I was a weird guy even then. Usually I got a ride and I met interesting people and so forth and so forth. But as I'm getting down there, I'm getting pretty far to the southern part of the Sahara. I think, hey, I think was it Agadez? There was one city down there that I could get a little hop in an aircraft. And I thought, well, hell's bells, why don't I just try that? And, I see the scenery from the plane and all that kind of good stuff. And so I take what's left of my meager stuff and pack up my tent and all of that good crap. And get on this plane. We're taking off, and I'm sitting there, and I'm kind of enjoying it, looking down, and it's all cool, and it beats the hell out of riding in a Jeep through the Sahara. And then it dawns on me, I don't have a paperwork for the country I was going to be landing in. I didn't have a visa. And I thought, they're going to shake me down. And they're going to find all sorts of other incriminating things. And I think, oh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. And so the plane is getting closer and closer to, it was somewhere in Cotonou, I think. It's been a long time, decades, guys. And I'm thinking, what can I do? What can I do? I'll just pretend to be crazy. I'll I'll just be a total idiot, I can't communicate, uh, and I know if they search me, they will find the South African visa that I have carefully concealed on me. And this was a particularly bad few years to be a white man from South Africa in some of the more militant areas of Africa. So I thought, well, I just know I'll just pretend to be an idiot. That's all I can do. So the plane lands, and we're getting off the plane. Nice straight file, and up there ways, there's a couple of guys, AK over his shoulder, looking at everybody's paperwork. Blue. Next one. And then I recalled that actually a young English guy had been pulled off an airplane and shot on the runway not too long before that. And I'm thinking, well, here it is, dirty doo-doo, man, the voodoo doo-doo. And the line's getting shorter. He's meticulous. He looks at everybody's freaking paper. He couldn't just be African, and forget about it.
Shades and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was straight out of a movie. He had his shades on, and he was Mr. Important Guy. And the lines get shorter and shorter and shorter. This is broad daylight. He's this far, literally less than the length of the arm from me. He looked through me. He looked through me and took the papers from the guy behind me. He's not done that anywhere else. And I figured I thought, I'm going to get through this. This kind of luck, I'm going to get through this. And I did. He didn't question me. He didn't see me. He didn't make eye contact. He didn't reach for me. Nothing. It's just like I wasn't there. I wasn't there. And luckily it was just a few minutes over to the other border. And here, and I've got, my U.S. passport that was particularly useful, and I handed that to the obviously much more savvy guy, and he's wearing his shades, and he's wearing his little put-on hat, and his grin is just exactly like you might think, and I hand him my papers. And he gives me this grin like this big. He says, "You do not have a visa for our country." And I just, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. And he smiled and handed it back to me and sent me over to the portal to go out. He didn't even try to bribe me. And in Africa, that's outstanding. But if he had wanted to, I could have got shot on the spot. I'm absolutely certain. I did not correct his image on my paperwork, and I beat feet out of there as quick as I could. It was an interesting time, but I love it. Yeah, Africa was still in many ways awesome. But I mean, I rode to get up to certain other areas. I rode in the back of a pickup with 4 other people, and they're all and actually the average person was fine. They were curious as hell. White man, what are you doing here? And I never felt threatened in the bush, but the cities completely the opposite. Anyway, I'm going on, but that's my thoughts.
Steve, you can go on as long as you want. We enjoy hearing your stories, and it's not just about getting to the meat of a question. You can share anything you'd like to. I love that story. I remember the first time I heard it, I think was
that's a popular one for me.
It should be. It's a miracle that facilitated the foundation of the Asatru Folk Assembly.
I was
powerful story.
I was on my way up to the Caprivi Strip area. I had intentions, and the purpose of my trip was to cross over into Angola, I believe, right around in there, because there was Jonas Savimbi, rebel, was fighting against the communists, the Cuban troops there, and I had arranged through SOF Mag to meet a particular guy in the post office of Katima Malilo or something, some unprofessional place. And I went to there. When I was, on the time I was expected, and the guy did not show. And there was no indication that he was as I recall, the man's presence had been noticed, but he just booked to go back over the border. So that's all I knew. But it was not dull. It was not dull. And I don't know. I think I wrote that piece up for SOF Mag. I don't recall now. It's been too damn long. If I died tomorrow, I still would have packed it up pretty full, and I have no regrets. Never. Well, not that kind of regrets. I didn't always make the right move, but I'm glad I tried.
A lot of people find themselves your age and never stop being an adorner of couches. So, no, that's awesome that you've got those stories to tell, especially the Africa ones. It's always fascinating. That's hairy.
Can just one more comment on Africa? I had been over in an adjacent place. I don't even know which little country it was. But oh wait, yeah, no, I was just in the extreme part of South Africa, up kind of close and to the west, and there was a big shopping area, and I'd gone over to that area. Not that I had any money anyway, but now I was going to take what they call rudely a Kafir taxi to go from there down to Johannesburg. And imagine this large, a cross between a I don't know, just sort of a large car or a small truck packed full with Africans going to Johannesburg. Now, I get that far and you might think, oh man, it must have been horrible. But I found that the average person on the street was curious. They want to know, what the hell is this white guy doing here? And they were all in the women were all in their best dresses and flouncy and just like flowers, and everybody was absolutely clean, absolutely squared away. Nobody did mean mugged me. In fact, they were curious. What the hell are you doing here? And I got to say, that was one of the better trips. Several hours over to Johannesburg. So just a good thing to keep in mind. Yeah. I mean, I am Mr. White Man all the way, but I gotta see other people the way they really are. So, and there are good people of all races. So
there you go. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, don't tell some people. You ruined my rep, dude.
People always expect you to do a racism. So, kind of a joking couple of questions, but they spark interesting ones. Steve, can you lift more than me, and can you drink more than me?
Well, You want an answer on that?
Okay, so I don't, just because of science, I don't expect an answer. I don't expect a 44 to 77 comparison. That's not fair. But you're welcome to answer if you're going to claim that you can.
Well,
Possibly
how
on the second. I'll fight you on the first, but either way, I'd like to hear your theories on it, and it sparks a couple of other questions. So answer, but also what would you say was your favorite lift or exercise, or I guess not favorite, but the one you excelled at most in your life?
Well, I've never tried for a maximum lift. I get just sort of I try to hit the gym 3 times a week, couple of hours per. I got it. I'm not really trying to get necessarily a large amount of bulk. What I do is I go through full body workout, and then for my personal finale, I go over to one of the unoccupied benches, prop up my feet, and do max push-ups, and I'm running at about 40 some push-ups doing that, which I think is not bad for 77. But I'll never have been and never will be big like you. But
so it was like one of the best compliments. I forget even what it was. I did a bloat a couple of months ago that you were so fired up by that you decided to drop down and do some incline push-ups.
Yeah, I don't remember why I did that exactly. It must have been something you had said. It's something physical, or I don't remember exactly.
I'll take it. It was amazing.
But yeah, no, it was an outstanding bloat. I was like, yeah, well done, and it was outstanding. Well done.
All right, so when it comes to the drink, you're an Irishman, and stereotypes exist for a reason. What is currently or has been consistently your favorite spirit?
Would you say Jim Beam?
Jameson.
Jameson is excellent. Jim Beam's good. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just good bourbon in particular. Never had a strong liking to other liquors particularly, but yeah, and I don't just chug it down. I've I'm a long ways from my teen days or even my.
When you were going hard, would you say you had a high tolerance, or were you a cheap date?
Nipani Mayu. I don't know what you said.
Oh, I said, did you have a high alcohol tolerance? Did it take a lot?
When I was back doing that stuff, yeah, I would knock it back, and yeah, tolerance wise, I would say average, depending on how much food I had in my stomach.
My wife and I are polar opposites. She got more. Her eyes were bigger than her, I guess, blood volume when we were out to a anniversary dinner a few years ago, and she made the mistake of having 2 cocktails. I had to literally carry her to the parking lot. My problem was always the other end. It takes me a long time to get there, but alcohol takes a certain amount of time to get in your system. So I would try to go so hard to keep up with where everybody else was at, because they're, getting a lot of effect from a little, that by the time I was getting to where everybody else was, I still had quite a bit of alcohol that was left to catch up to my bloodstream. So I would overshoot quite a bit in my younger days.
So you weren't going for speed, you were going for volume.
Well, I was trying to keep up with everybody else. So I remember I was working when I was working a bar in Florida. We had a hurricane party. So as long as we battened down the hatches at the bar, because it was going to be this huge flood water that was going to close it down, we could take home some alcohol and have a party at somebody's house. So we hunkered down for this hurricane coming through.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, but they got Fireball for them and Diesel for me. And I think it's regional, but Diesel's equivalent to like Bacardi 151 or Everclear. It's one of the like 151 proof grain liquor things. And they're drinking this, you know, they're drinking this college girl cinnamon whiskey that's delicious. I'm not faulting it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going shot for shot, and I'm pretty sure mine's like 4 times as high octane as theirs. So they got what they paid for. So yeah, I'd overshoot a little bit.
Yeah,
they got mad at me, but I promise it was in support. So there was this Cuban bartender there, and there was this lake out in back of the dude's house during this hurricane. Now there's gators in this lake, but a white guy and this Cuban guy were swimming. The challenge was them swim across. When I say lake, I mean like big pond, I guess. They're swimming across it to the far end and then seeing who could get back first. And I was exuberant about rooting for the home team and not for the Cubano. And but then I was very excited when he won and congratulatory. And I mentioned that he probably had practice. And,
yeah, I'm sure he would have. Yeah,
yeah, and I was told to keep it down because the dude had neighbors. And yeah, so that's my thing.
Can I?
Yeah, you can. And then we got a couple of other questions that have stacked up. What you got?
Okay, I'll keep this short, but it's
as long as you want. Steve, it's your birthday.
Oh well, nah, but I'll try to be considerate. We were talking earlier about the Cuban situation, and when I was stationed in Germany, it was a huge support place, and so you had a huge officers club, and a lot of people, a lot of ease, and a couple of friends and I were sitting over there one night, and we were having a drink or two, and because there was a huge support facility on the base, they had things like the Red Cross flew in and out of there and so forth. And so we were sitting over in the old club, and we weren't too drunk, but in walks this guy, a civilian, one of the, as it turns out, he was one of the pilots flying for the Red Cross. Tall, skinny guy, and one of my buddies punches me in the ribs and says, "You know about that guy?" I said, "No, tell me, what about him?" Well, he said, at the Bay of Pigs, he flew a B-26. And it was looking back, and the background on that is that when the anti-communist forces were getting their asses kicked at Playa Girón and Playa Larga, the CIA people who were training them, of which this guy was one, said, "Here, we got it." And those men got into B-26s to go in and strafe the communists just on their own. They flew those planes in. They were not, in fact, they were ordered not to. But they said, "Nah, well, we got guys on the ground that are getting pounded. We're not going to trust to go for that." And I got to say, if somebody wanted me to name a person that made such a impact on me in moments, yeah, guys with cojones grandes. And I never talked to the guy about it, but I thought, man, he risked his life to try and save the guys that he had trained and worked with. So Here's to the guys who got it. Anyway, that was a little memory that just popped out, and I thought it kind of tied in a little bit with some of the things.
No, well, thank you for it. Question about food and culinary imperialism. Steve, sir, do you have a favorite dish from your travels abroad?
I guess sea rats don't count, or MREs as they are now.
You like Jaeger schnitzel?
Jaeger schnitzel. Yeah, it's one of my favorite imbribables. Yeah, it was good.
All right, and
I'll say that's for the next question. This is that now we want the spicy stuff.
Jaeger schnitzel's a foreign dish,
but it's still a folk dish. I was made in the stuff
you made from your travels with the gentlemen who are darker of you.
The stuff with the funny sauces and this funny pepper.
He wants to know if you ate any indigenous African cuisine.
What did you eat? You ate, in Spain you ate all stuff.
What was
Talk
it?
about what you ate in Spain.
Remind me.
You ate fish. Didn't you eat fish and cheap wine or something?
Probably, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, if you liked it.
Yeah, let me think. Let me think about the African situation. Yeah, I ate. I don't even remember very much of what it was. It wasn't spectacular, but I ate tribal stuff for a time or two.
Have you ever eaten Ethiopian food?
Don't think so. Never got there.
So I've never been there either, but I was in California. Me and Mandy like to try different food. So we went to an Ethiopian restaurant. I'm glad that I tried it, but I would not recommend.
Yeah.
Ethiopian people, if you're watching Victory Never Sleeps, I appreciate your viewership. I would be surprised if we had an Ethiopian audience, either in Ethiopia or Ethiopian diaspora. How come you guys don't know how to make a decent pancake? Every culture around the world has got some kind of flat bread thing. And so much of your Ethiopian cuisine is to be eaten by whatever the big pancake thing is that is served with it, because you guys don't use silverware. Naan is delicious. Crepes are delicious. Pancakes are delicious. I don't know, hoe cakes. Like, there's any number of flat, simple breads. But your guys' bread, that's such a huge part of your dish, is not good. And that made me sad.
Yeah.
The gravy and the whatever random stuff you put on it was all right, but the bread was really not good, and I was very disappointed. So shame on you, Ethiopia.
Yeah.
I've got another question coming through, less culinary in nature. My wife is of Celtic origin. I myself am mostly Germanic / Anglo-Saxon, but also have strong Celtic ancestry. I have interest in the AFA and discovering more about my ancestors, but I wonder what your opinions are of honoring the Celtic pantheon alongside the Aesir. Steve, do you have thoughts on that in specific?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I've been thinking about it, a number of days ago, and when all of the news is really heavy with the Irish getting pissed off at the way they're being treated by the Africans and the people of various type who are overrunning the country and so forth. So I was following that really closely, and I'm quite proud of my Irish heritage. We do a pretty good fight, and I'm sorry, put me back on track. What was the rest of it?
So, what are your thoughts about worshiping?
Oh, the worshiping
pantheon alongside the Aesir.
I can't.
talk about being in Ireland. That's where you did it.
Just to say.
When you were in Ireland, that's when you honored the Irish, the Celtic, but not here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sheila reminds me that, I don't honor the Irish deities here in the U.S., but in Ireland, I did. I pour glasses to the Irish deities. And that's my mother's side of the family there. I think you have to go one way or the other, and except for special circumstances. But on the other hand, I've been thinking about this a lot for the past week or so. There's still, Aryan. We are Germanic Aryan. They are Celto, whatever, and so I respect that. I respect that very strongly. And for example, New Grange, which people might you recall, it's that huge burial arrangement in Ireland where once a year for 20 minutes, that's a solstice, a light shines down this tiny ass chamber into a chamber, and I'm quite impressed by that, and I see that as a womb. It is a womb, and there's even a sort of a hymen, if you want to consider the stone that sits in front of the entrance there. And it's hard for me as a white man generically to say, damn, that's important and that's good, and it hits so many things in me. So I'm very sympathetic to the Celtic religion and their deities, who are quite like us in many ways. I consider them as brother Aryans, but my religious choice is with the Aesir and Vanu. Did that make any sense?
Yes, no, it certainly does. So I've got something to respond on that too. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties on the back end, and I'm trying to track something, and I'm waiting until something loads. So yeah, I'll answer the question first. So I realize that the answer is more complicated than this, but I do think this gets to the meat of it. They're the same deities with different names. I understand that it doesn't translate perfectly, but trace it back with me logically. Our gods have existed since the dawn of our faith. And I guess since the dawn of our people. We know that the same group of people, as Aryan people, moved from wherever our origin point might be, but we found, which, I like to think is Hyperborea, but we found ourselves in the Caucasus at one point. We branched out. And we found ourselves in different valleys, and our language developed and our culture developed similarly but differently in different places over different times. Our gods exist and were with us when we were born as a race. They have been with us ever since. We don't just get new gods when we occupy a new valley or a new plain, and we decide to found a new city or deviate our language or drop a diphthong or whatever else. These are our gods. They're the gods of the Aryan people since the beginning. Yes, we choose to worship them under the Norse nomenclature because that's the best source that's come to us, and because those are the terms that the All-Father gave the man I am speaking to on this program tonight when he founded our faith in modern times. But fundamentally, all of the names of the gods of the Aryan people are describing the same entities under different understandings, with a slightly different relationship, with different stories that are relevant to different people. But these are the gods of our folk since the birth of our people. So I don't think there's a conflict. I think it's much more about a cultural lens that you are choosing to worship the gods through. So no, it's not the end of the world if you want to, double up on how you do it by a couple of different pantheons. I don't think that hurts anyone. But I do think we are most unified when we worship the gods as the Aesir in the Norse nomenclature together as a faith community. But I think if you're in a particular place and you want to use the relevant, expression of those deities for that place and that culture, I don't find that inappropriate. So I don't think there's a conflict there. I think it's funny people perceive that a lot, but
yeah, I don't have a problem.
Our name is McNallen. It's not
McNallen. The McNallens of County Tyrone.
Yeah,
and he's a lot of bad boys.
It's not a Norwegian name. It's not an Icelandic name. It's an Irish name. So it's worth realizing that a lot of people have hang-ups, but I think they're creating a mental unease or an ennui that's not really there. That's not really relevant when you get down to the brass tacks of it. And I don't mean that to diminish it. I know that it's relevant to the people who ask the question. I'm just saying when you find yourself on the other side of the question, I think you might see that there was no conflict at all, even when you perceived there was one.
Yeah, that's why brother wars are so horrible.
Certainly in the context of the world we live in today, we've got much bigger things.
Yeah, I mean, I know of at least one by name, a relative who was killed in action as a member of the IRA, and the whole family is IRA, and I respect their bravery and their love for their country, but it is horrible that we have to shoot fellow white men to get some sort of a resolution about anything. There needs to be a better way. It's no more brother wars.
Matt and Steve, 2 questions. When it comes to opposing religions, which religion has shown the most aggression towards the AFA? Steve, what would you say?
Ooh. What do you think, Sheila?
What is Antifa?
What is Antifa?
The answer. I was going to say wokeism.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, they are by far the worst.
Yeah.
So they are, and we all agree on that, and they treat it they are more zealous about that than any other zealot of any other faith. But as far as like a theistic faith, what would you say, Steve?
I don't know. I don't know. They can all of them can be pretty damn harsh on it. But I don't know. I don't know them well enough to say.
All right. So I am deeply ashamed to say this. One of our core values is truth, so I am obliged to say this. The religion that has shown the most aggression towards the AFA is Asatru / heathenry / Odinism.
That's true.
Yes, our own people who choose not to stand with us are the most vile and hate-filled in their attacks towards us. This is why we can't have nice things, or I'd say this is why we can't have more nice things.
Mm-hmm.
Our people are afflicted with the curse of being so fractious and so small-minded in the need to have constant and vehement infighting. We would rather fight about the 3% of things we disagree on than the 97% of things that we have in common. And it's a big thing that holds our folk back. But there's an optimism in realizing that if we would just get out of our own way, it would remove almost all of the blocks that hold us back.
Mm-hmm.
But I am ashamed to say it, but that is the honest answer.
Yeah.
Secondly, Steve, what's the best birthday gift you've ever gotten?
Oh my God. It's hard to say which one for all sorts of reasons. But what I remember most when I think of birthday, when I was, oh God, 4, 5, 6, way young, I was way hooked on chivalry, on knighthood. Knights, that was it. I coerced my mother, I think it was my mother rather than my sister, to take me to see Prince Valiant at the theater, and that would have been way back there. That would have been 1950s, early 50s. Knights in shining armor and all of that kind of stuff. So I remember getting to go to movies like that, and I coerced my mother into making my cake in the form of a castle with the little caramels, the cubes for the battlements and such, and towers and all that kind of stuff. And probably graham crackers for drawbridge. I don't know, but it's the sort of thing she would have done. My mother was awesome.
That's really cool.
And but I don't connect that with a birthday as much.
No. I'm talking general topics.
Oh,
just things you've done.
General topics. Yes. The whole Kennewick Band thing. A lot
of people don't know about it.
Yeah. That was a major thing.
Yeah. All right. So, what is the AFA's position on soft versus hard polytheism? I lean more on the Jungian archetype interpretation, but I am very new to this whole thing, and the call of the gods feels real to me. What of that would you like to address, Steve?
Well, it's interesting because I was kind of running stuff like that through my head just a few days ago, and I described earlier how I made my decision to go to Africa to do whatever the hell it was, and it dawns on me that what if in the older days the gods related to us in almost our entire actually physical form. But I wonder, what if maybe in our age, what if they manifest as Jungian archetypes? I do believe, absolutely, I believe that they are conscious beings. Because it works with me so long and has worked as a truth to me for a long time. But I got to thinking about that incredibly. It was 1 in 1,300,000 something that I would get that 2 times in a row. Yes, go to Africa. So, and I have to think that there's consciousness behind that. I could be wrong. I mean, this is just my question. Is the universe work mechanistically that produces that? Well, I don't know, but it just seems more likely to me that there is consciousness behind that. And I think that maybe this is just pulling this out of my hat. Maybe this is the way that the holy powers manifest to us today, as with Jungian emphasis. Maybe that's their mask for this part of our journey. I don't know. That's I don't know any of that for sure, but I was thinking about that. But yeah, I do believe the gods are real. Even putting huge statistics aside, I believe they've pulled my butt out of some real fires. Yeah.
I think Matt ran off, so you got the floor, sir. Keep going.
Oh yes, brothers and sisters. Okay, yeah. What's a good anecdote? What have I forgotten this evening? There I was. as all good stories start.
Do you want to talk about the difference between it was like when we went out to Wisconsin to the old thing compared to the way we do things now? Also true in the 1990s.
So,
brothers and all that.
Steve, we absolutely do exactly what Sheila is suggesting, and thank you for covering for a second. I had to tuck my daughter in.
Awesome.
What I wanted to say to the archetype thing, and I listened to a lot of what you said on it. To the person who answers the Silver Seleucid, our gods are real. Our gods are real, and they don't require the mental gymnastics. They're real as gods. But if the way that you can transition from having no faith is in, I don't know, first exploring them as archetypes, I think that moves you closer to where you need to be. And I think, you mentioned in your question that when you call to the gods, or that the call of the gods feels real to you, follow that. Don't burden that with expectation or with trying to force them into whatever preconceived slots you may have for them. I would encourage you very strongly to open your heart and open your mind and follow that call of the gods and let that develop how it develops. We hinder ourselves a lot when you have huge expectations or you try to compartmentalize the gods. The gods are too vast and too powerful to fit any compartment you make for them. So I would very much encourage you to allow that to develop naturally and open your heart and open your mind and see what happens. I think you will find they are much more than archetypes. I think that the directionality of the archetype model is the problem. Yes, these God forms are a big part of our, racial subconscious, but that's because they are the gods of our folk, not the other way around.
Yeah.
But yeah, just be open and let that develop. And I'm glad that you've heard their call and don't burden yourself with preconception. Just let that happen. Let that take shape and see where it takes you.
Well, it's taken me places, and the word I get is that when Carl Jung went down to visit,
Serrano.
say again,
Serrano.
Miguel Serrano. Serrano says that Carl Jung had decided that they were actual. They were actual beings, not just archetypes in the collective unconscious. So, I think he came around to it.
His progression certainly went from academic and scientific to much more mystical as as he allowed that to take shape and as he took heed of what. That's the thing. I think he was honest to the things that he noticed, and there's a pretty significant academic bias towards religiosity. So I think that was a big leap, but you can track the development of that in his works. I don't claim to be an expert. He is a tough man to read his works. They are voluminous and very, very difficult. I've read stuff, but reading the collected works of Carl Jung is still a little bit beyond my grasp.
It would have been a kick to have met him. Can
Absolutely.
you imagine? Wow.
You know who I would have loved to meet? Serrano. I believe there's something there. The stuff seems absolutely bonkers. But okay, so if you read his stuff, he sounds like he is absolutely insane. But he is writing these things as he is a high functioning diplomat, an aristocrat, and a very high functioning person. So I've got to think that it's not him, it's me, and I just don't get some of it. But I think that meeting Miguel Serrano would have been an amazing shoot. Having a meal with both of those men, that would have been amazing. I would have loved to do that. So Steve, wherever Sheila was trying to take you before I rudely interrupted.
I was talking about Asatru in the 1990s, the dress up, the tunics, the spears, the shields.
Right.
When we went out to Wisconsin, and everything was so Viking, and it stayed that way.
Yeah. Well, I think probably you heard at least a portion of that. It was the dress up thing, and we'd gone out to an event in Wisconsin that was very heavily, basically where most of us were 20 some years ago or whatever. And I think 30, she corrects me. We're that old? Oh, hell. I think that it's a phase that is really kind of natural. It's people going with the emotions. They need the concept, the background of the culture, and getting the hint on the values. I think it's probably pretty natural for the person who doesn't run into, say, something like the AFA. They're gonna run into that quite likely. So it all comes out to the same place if people in question have the right attitude, the right interests, the right values, and so forth. Eventually, you can go from shields and spears to automobiles and planes and spaceships or whatever.
Excellent. So the thing I was hemming and hawing about. We did get a couple of donations earlier. We just weren't able to track it because our store interface was being a little bit tricky tonight. GW Farnsworth always is there with his generosity, and we appreciate you so much. Donating $25 to Victory Never Sleeps and $50 to our current folk services effort to help a family keep their custody and keep their family together. Also, Gilbert donated $150 towards the Thorshoff Beautification Fund. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you very much. And I'm sorry it took us so long to acknowledge you tonight. Technical difficulties got in the way just a bit. Next one. Does Steve enjoy eating Asian food?
If it's served to me, I'll eat it. But I don't consider myself a fan of Asian food particularly.
Well, you can't eat it now because it's so salty.
Oh, yeah. Sheila corrects me. Well, she doesn't correct me. She just points out that I'm now on a low diet of low salt, low salt diet. All this old man stuff.
MSG is not your friend right now.
For sure.
All right. Next up, would Steve agree? So, all right. And I'm going to ask because we ask questions that are in here. Do with this question what you will, Steve. Would Steve agree that the U.S. military is anti-white, considering it forced racial integration by gun to white children and sent whites to die in useless wars, etc., and are soldiers of the Jewish government? Do what you want with that question, Steve.
There are forces that affecting the armed forces that have political orientation, political causes, obviously. It's probably, you wouldn't find the average soldier, certainly not enlisted rank, probably not most of your officers, would see through the bullshit of just doing something to be political. I don't think it improves the forces. I mean, it depends on how you do all that good stuff. But I think that at some levels, leadership they just crater over, probably for their years to come, for all the rest of their hitch or their careers. I don't. Yeah, there's that force there, but there are other ways as well. There's other ways of looking at it, but it's there. All the equal opportunity stuff and so forth. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of us just ignored it. I mean, if you really, if you had a black guy in your outfit and turned out he was a good guy, then you knew better. But I don't know. It's complex. I didn't do a very good job of that.
You're fine. That's all. It's your birthday. You do what you want. Olivia wants to know, Matt and Steve, what has been your favorite birthday cake ever, and who made it? You answered earlier, so you can either double down or you can choose an additional one. What do you want, Steve? You can do whatever you want.
Well, the one that stood out, I couldn't tell you about any of my other ones, with the exception of the castle and the knights and stuff. Yeah. But that said, I don't think I've ever come across a cake of any kind that I didn't like. So
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm not particular. As long as it doesn't taste like MREs.
All right. So two things. I really like a mint chocolate chip ice cream cake. It's been a while since I had one because I'm grown and I can just go to the store and get a half gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream and knock it out. But I would say that's made by the good people at Baskin Robbins. When I had one last, when I was younger. Other one was I had a Leonardo Ninja Turtle cookie cake. It was a giant cookie, but decorated with frosting like a cake. And that was really cool. And that was, that was back in the height of the Ninja Turtle era. It was in like I believe the late 80s at some point. It was delicious. I enjoyed it. Saw a picture a while back of it. Anyways, that was made by the good folks at Cars Quality Centers, which was a local grocery chain that made such things. It was a really cool cake. It's like a big chocolate chip cookie. And the Ninja Turtles were pretty awesome at the time. Next up, Steve and Matt, are you a dog person or a cat person? Steve.
Well, I thought I was just a dog person for a number of years, and I still like dogs, absolutely. But right now, I am occupied. I mean, as in possessed by cats. We moved into this house, and there was 2 cats living just wildly in between this house and the house up the hill, 100 yards or so. And I've known some cats that were just totally awesome. So I go either way, I guess. I like dogs. I'll pet dogs all.
Cats don't.
I like Sheila just said, I like dogs, but cats don't. So that's pretty much the way we stock the place, I guess. But I've had some wonderful cats. It makes me really hope that animals have souls.
Yeah, I love animals. I mean, if I've got to go dog person or cat person, dog person. But I appreciate any animal that, comes up and wants my attention. I really like animals. We recently got a dog. He has made his debut on this program a few months ago. I don't know where he is right now. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't been up here. But see, I like cats, but cats don't necessarily like me. Dogs like me a lot. It's nice to have an animal that genuinely appreciates my existence.
Yeah.
They're much more enthusiastic about their appreciation of my existence, and I'll say that I'm a dog person, but I like animals. I do. I like cats. Anything that's going to come up and snuggle me, I tend to be a fan of.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's I like them all. What I hate is animal cruelty. Bad things need to happen to people.
That's one of the things I can't deal with. If somebody's posting videos of animal cruelty, and usually they're posting them to raise awareness or whatever, and I get that, but that kind of stuff will haunt me for forever. I can't tolerate that at all. Yeah, I don't.
Nothing.
Yeah, I don't get that. And I think that speaks a lot. I think how people treat animals says a lot about them. I will say that I sometimes, to my detriment, am excited about fuzzy animals that will come and try to give me a snuggle. One time at a midsummer in Alta, California, these bear cubs came up to me.
Oh.
And this bear cub came up to my hand and put its bare nose against my hand.
Wow.
And I was just entranced because there's that's crazy. Okay, cool. This bear cub, that's awesome. And it starts climbing this tree next to me. And it took me way too long for the thought to occur to me like, oh, wow, where's mom?
Mhm.
And so I was very cautious to retrace my steps out of where I was. And I never saw mom, but I think I was pretty close to having a really, really bad day.
Yeah.
But it was really cool, and I'm glad it happened.
Oh, yeah.
Random thing, just because I don't know if I told you when I was up at the Hoff last time. Aubrey and I drove up there, and we saw the biggest black bear crossing the road, and it in that stretch on 20 through through the woods where all the people are mountain biking and stuff.
Mhm.
This giant, like a big black bear. And just what you wanted, not like the off-color ones, like your stereotypical outside of Black Bear Diner looking black bear across the road. But he stopped in the middle of the road to look at traffic, so we had to slow way down, and we got a really good look at him. And he walked off in the woods and looked back at us. So it was cool. I don't usually get to see them.
So he went home and said, I saw the humans today. Close range.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Next. All right. Since we don't find very much philosophy in the Norse tradition, what is your opinion on Greek philosophy, and is it compatible with Asatru? And do you think there is value in looking into Western philosophy rather than Eastern philosophy to fulfill a philosophical need? Steve, what say you?
Well, I feel I do not need to refer, generally speaking, to the Orient. I'm not saying that they're don't get some things right. I don't hear quotes here and there that okay, I get all of that. And I don't know the Greek material too well, but I think that it is closer to us, for example, than the Oriental material. But of course, ideally for me is the Germanic Nordic way of looking at things. Um, everybody gets something right. You can go to just about any culture, and they're going to get some of the items right. But what I'm looking for is that thing that is mine. It's mine, and it's what my people decided, the way that my people saw the universe and relations with other humans. I think I'm no philosopher, but it seems to me that generally speaking, the European peoples have stuff at least where they can communicate back and forth in regards to their mores and their values and so forth. Some people, I'm sure, in Borneo or wherever else, not trying to pick on whoever lives in Borneo. A lot of their things would be horrible to us. So I think for me at least, philosophy starts at home and works its way out in concentric circles. I've never actually thought of that till now. So thanks for the nudge. Interesting.
So words matter. There is a lot of philosophy in the Norse material. It depends on what you mean by philosophy. The very specialized school of what most people would think are philosophers and philosophy, I don't see a philosophical need. I think that some other people might, but it seems very masturbatory to me. And not that I don't appreciate some works of some philosophers, but I appreciate it a lot more in practice than in theory. And I think that it very often overcomplicates and confuses very simple things. So I'm not the greatest fan of that. I think the Greek philosophers tended to take a step away from religion. And when they mentioned the gods, they debased them and kind of made them silly or de-godified them in their philosophy. And I think that's unfortunate. I, I don't, again, I know a lot of our people really enjoy reading philosophers, and I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it, but I think that often the important things in our interaction with each other, with statecraft, with the gods, with our interactions with, friend or foe alike, I think philosophy very often is, I don't know, like I said, I think it's meandering, and it's the best philosophers in my experience are people who are men of action and doing and can express some maxims involved in doing that, as opposed to just contemplative philosophy that like I said, I don't place a great deal of value in. But I understand some people do, and I can't paint with that broad of a brush, but it's never something that I find to be particularly useful. I say that every person whose opinion matters to me, or who I read their writings and get a lot from, they're all philosophers in their own right in some way. But the formalized school of philosophy and the, philosophy with a capital P, I guess, is what I'm referring to. And last question we have queued up for tonight. How do you prove the gods to be real when challenged? Steve, how do you prove the gods are real when you are challenged?
I'm not sure I can prove, but to go back to quite early on this evening when we were talking about statistics and just possibilities and probabilities, and how it seemed to be that the gods actually function as real beings. When you get what seem to be interactions with the gods, where the chances of a particular answer is, like I said, 1 in 1,000,000 and some odd 100,000. To me, that indicates a supernatural force. Now, is Odin, Woden, Wotan, literally an old guy with a spear sitting on a chair. He can do anything he damn well wants, but I don't think that's just what he does. I mean, he's got some strings to pull, things to do, and so forth and so forth. So I'm convinced, but you got to look at the way the odds work out. There's more going on there than just casually rolling the dice.
So I think this kind of goes to a little bit to my previous condemnation of philosophy. I don't need to prove the gods are real. The gods are real. My ability to prove it or disprove it don't affect the reality of the gods. I think a similar school of thought with, endless quoting philosophers leads itself to the thought that debate is what counts. Truth is what counts. And if debating something helps bring out the truth of it or lead you to the truth of it, then great. But my ability to argue with someone and convince them of the reality of our gods doesn't make the gods any more or less real. I feel it's my job to invite people to come home to their gods. I think it's my job to proclaim the reality of our gods and to stand for that reality and for their will. But I don't think that it's a winning strategy to try to convince people who don't want to be convinced of the reality of our gods. I don't really think it works that way a whole lot. And I'd say, you know, as a point of reference, in this show's, or I guess in this YouTube channel's library, I did a show with an atheist that wanted to like have me prove to him that the gods exist. And I'm like, no, that's not what I signed up for. I signed up to tell you why I think they exist. And I think that the conversation is very revealing. It's not about competing theories. No, our gods exist. I know 1,000% they exist. I try to communicate that to the best of my ability with other people who want to listen, but they exist whether, you know, my debating about them or not to score points doesn't affect their existence. And I think it's the directionality of that that's very fundamental to faith in general. We often get caught up in thinking that what we do, you know, affects whether the gods exist or not, you know, like the Schrodinger's gods or something. And it doesn't work that way. The gods exist and are real. Everything flows from that. When we focus everything on us and try to project our feeble understandings as if that determines the reality of our gods, that misses the point and is a kind of trivial, unintentional atheism that I think we should avoid. So, you know, I can present the reality of our gods. I can speak to the way that they've affected my life and the life of those around me. I can speak to moments that I feel are transcendent, that represent the reality of our gods in my life and in the life of others. But I can't have like a wizard battle with somebody like from Sword in the Stone in the Disney movie, and we transform into different stuff and do, you know, that's not how it works. And I think people they get lost in their own head thinking that's how it is. And I don't think it is. The gods are real and my life is better for it. My life is a testament to the reality of the gods. Hopefully it's convincing. Whether it's convincing or not, it's absolutely true. And I'm very, very grateful for it. So, Steve, is there anything else you'd like to share with us or talk to us about this evening?
I don't have any topics to hand, but it's been awesome. This is really my chance to experience this, and the material here is endless. You know, good conversations. We've talked philosophy and religion, and just about everything else. And very seldom one gets a chance to do that. Usually, it's just nothing of particular worth. But this has been of worth, of great worth. I
have a question for you.
Well,
where can people meet you? Where do you hang out?
Where do I hang out?
Odenshof. You
Of
need to
course.
come out to Odenshof.
Of course, I hang out at Odenshof.
Yeah. Just invite them out to.
Yeah, y'all come on by.
So you heard it here, folks. Odenshof this weekend, Vetternighter or Winter Nights at Odenshof. I'll be there. Steve will be there. The voice from beyond the screen, his lovely wife Sheila, will be there. You should be there too. If we can get you there, that'd be fantastic. We would love to see you there. Reach out to your local folk builder, then get you all set up if you'd like to be there. Also, if you are in the eastern part of this country and you would like to be there for the dedication of Phrasehoff, we'll also feature our founder, Steve McNallen. You can meet him, shake his hand. He might even speak to you. So
I'm Irish. I have to talk.
there you go. So he's compelled by his Irish blood to speak to you. But yeah, that's December the 6th. I joke, but seriously, anybody who can get there, Steve, Sheila, myself will all be in attendance with other AFA luminaries. But most importantly, it's an opportunity to celebrate the dedication of the first Hoff to Lord Frere that we know of. So it's the place to be. Would love to see you there.
Before you wrap, we got a bunch of questions now.
Well,
you said one question and now they've got like 5.
Well, that's just disrespectful. I only see one in my queue. I see 2.
I'm loading them up.
All right, Steve, some overtime. All right.
I the working man.
Did you ever think that what people think is the gods is in their life is actually the people in their life? There are no gods intervening for people who have no people, i.e. family or family friends. I don't know if I think that I get some of that question. I don't know if I fully understand it. Steve, what do you say to that question?
Well, I don't either. If I'm hearing right, one would say, well, my father is, father figure is a god, and my mother is a goddess. So if I'm getting you right, but I think that's almost Freudian approach is just that it doesn't meet what happens. We've many of us have experienced situations that blows the hell out of just accident. I do believe that I've been guided by the gods. I believe that in a couple of cases, they kept me alive. Several actually, where they kept me alive, crossing borders where I had no right to cross, and so forth and so forth. And I know you can always say, well, that's just luck, but there comes a point where the statistical odds of that are just 1 in millions. Well, yeah, as I was saying earlier in the evening, but that's what I would say.
So I reject your premise. When you say there are no gods intervening for people who have no people, i.e. family or family friends, I don't think that's the case. I know a lot of people who came to the gods when they were quite literally alone. They were at rock bottom. They had no family and no friends, and all they had was the gods. And their faith in the gods and their God's interaction with them is what brought them back to a place in the world where they developed family and friends. So I think oftentimes people find the gods when they are quite alone. I do think that the gods can work through people to place people in your life at the right time, at the right circumstance, to arrange synchronicity to where the right person interacts with you in a way that's meaningful when you need them. Ideally, Steve and myself and his wife Sheila, all as priests of the Aesir, hopefully our gods make use of us in that way and facilitate our being in people's lives when they need us or when it's most advantageous to the will of our gods. But I don't think that. I think that we do wrong when we try to, I don't know, force, I don't know, when we try to take away from the gods in order to force rationalism on something that's unnecessary. And I think if we didn't feel the need to do that, we would very naturally embrace the gods. But we have something built into us since the quote unquote Enlightenment where it's like we have a natural disposition of trying to disprove divinity. And I think we do that to our detriment. So, no, I don't think that's the case. Matt and Steve, do you do in your free time? What are both of your hobbies? Steve, what do you do? What do you do in your free time, and what are your hobbies?
Wow. What I do, I don't have much free time. I'm almost always busy doing things to further the cause of our folk. I write for this and that and the other. I've got multiple outlets that ideally I would like to post on 3 times a week, which often doesn't happen. I mean, that's things like MeWe and this and the other and so forth and so forth. Just media trying to get my messages out as I see them. I was born to fight this fight, not necessarily to win. I don't know, but I don't give a damn. That's not the point. The point is, I was born to fight this fight. I believe that absolutely, positively. I may make a mess of it. I may not, but I was born to fight this fight for the existence of our people, the welfare of our people, for the glory of the gods that are our greater fathers and mothers. And that my wife will tell you, I mean, she has to pull me away to get me to go to a movie or something, I don't know, but that's it. And I love it. I love it. This is my fight. Hell yeah, bring it on. And
I do have some things to say though, that you really love the idea of consciousness, and futurism, and all that stuff, and you basically study it. You are interested into all the theories about where we're heading with AI and all those things.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of your time. That's where
I
that
do.
is like a hobby.
Yeah, well, in a way, I don't know if you could hear that very well, but she's basically saying that I stay up on all of the current technology, AI, und so weiter. Yeah, I do, because that's weaponry. That's slash threat, and I am a human, Homo sapiens sapiens ariensis, and this is my battle. And to fight that battle. I mean, I've never been just the little guy who has no interest. As I wanted to be a physicist. I was reading books on relativity at like 12 years old and shit like that. I'm not saying that makes me particularly bright, but it does mean that at least I was interested in all sorts of stuff. So I'm not that little closed off guy who's wants to, I don't know what the hell, but all that I have and all that I am, regardless of AI or whatever, focuses on our people, our souls, however you want to think of those, and the things which we should accomplish and must accomplish if we are to be remembered by our generations 1,000 years from now.
Yeah, I don't mean to give bland answers because I don't think it's the case, but I have really worked hard in my life to build synchronicity to where the pieces match. So I don't have a lot of like not a lot of the things I do as hobbies correlate or interface with this in some way. Like I'm trying to learn Icelandic right now, and um, you know, I read, but I read a lot about history and I read a lot about various themes that interface in the stuff that we do. I'm reading The Forgotten Soldier right now. And I got, as soon as we're done with that, a new book on Otto Rahn that I want to read. I work out. I go to the gym. That I guess is a hobby that I do that's not this. I go and do Danzen Ryu Jiu-Jitsu. Um, Started, I listen to various podcasts and things throughout the day. Started listening more to Alex Jones. I hadn't done that in a number of years, but he's on to a lot of things and he's right a lot of the time, but he also gets really fired up and his presentation's kind of ridiculous. But that's part of the fun of it. So I don't know. I mean, I listen to podcasts, I read, I go to the gym, I go to the park with my daughter. As a palate cleanser, I'll watch professional wrestling with my wife. We'll watch that kind of because again, it's silly and it's nostalgic to our childhood or whatever, and it's a fun something to do that kind of, like I said, it's a palate cleanser. It gets your mind off of other stuff so you can come back at it fresh. So we'll do that every now and again. So this is strange, but I'll watch stuff and I enjoy watching and or listening to things about UFOs and cryptids and stuff. I don't say that I believe in all of those things, but I do find it really fascinating. There is a phenomenon that goes on, and I don't know, there's probably a better word for this. When people are telling me things and they're not lying, but I also don't believe that what they're telling to me is true, there's a gap there that is fascinating to me. And the thing with the UFOs and the cryptids, and I'm not like getting all in crazy town on it, but only one of them has to be right for it to be a thing. Like 99% of them can be completely full of it, but it only takes one of them to be accurate for there to be something that's worth paying attention to. So I suppose, but again, that's a heavy part entertainment, but it also would be fun if that stuff was a thing. I don't know that it is or it isn't, but it entertains me and fascinates me. But yeah, I think that's what I got. Also, Steve, any fun or funny Army stories?
Oh, God. I'm sure there were 1,000 things, but they never they haven't congealed to a point where I just can just reach in and pick one up. It was the Army was I had a love-hate relationship basically with it. Parts of it sucked so bad, and parts of it were just great. And it's sometimes it's kind of hard to sort them out. I always liked working with the troops. We had some crazy guys. I'll never forget them. but I can't think of it that comes right off my lips. If we had the conversation slightly differently, I probably could have entertained you with a load of them. But yeah, there was great times. But damn, yeah, sometimes it wasn't.
Oh, well, you've got
Well, my wife's about to
National
inform.
Guard and their Rodney King riots. There's a good.
Oh, National Guard during the Rodney King riots. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, we had an interesting time. It was crazy. But yeah, nothing worth nothing that would be funny in the context. So I won't.
All right. So, do you describe miracles as evidence? I'm assuming that comes from the earlier question about proving our gods. Steve, would you describe miracles as evidence?
If there is such a thing as my belief in the gods and my, shall we say, intuition, to use a word, if that somehow is, quote, evidence, there's no way I can really transmit that to anybody else. I have to try to, let them know, gee, here's what I felt, or here's what I saw. And this worked out this way. Is that evidence? It's not evidence you can take to court or anything like that. It's something that I know happened, but it's very subjective in that way. Doesn't mean the gods can't do things and do things with other people or to other people, but what impacts me is obviously my experience of it. So, I don't know. I never was a philosopher. But.
So what Steve said, realistically, yes, as evidence to me, absolutely. The trouble is when you get in those kind of conversations, especially in this day and age, it doesn't really work like that. So whatever, Steve talked about a miracle earlier, but I think that there are the agnostic crowd is very quiet. The atheist crowd is very loud. The atheist doesn't really want to hear anything. They just want to shout it down. So, no, the guy was just distracted. He didn't look through you. He just didn't care about you. Something stood out about the guy behind you. Or he had some kind of he was thinking about, I don't know, he's thinking about fried chicken or something, and he didn't pay attention that day. I don't know. They would come up with some rationalization to delegitimize your experience and make it not real. You couldn't convince that guy because he doesn't want to be convinced. Miraculous things that happen in our lives were very powerful evidence to us or to other religious people with some buy-in, but they're not powerful to try to convince atheists that don't want to be convinced. Oh, you're lying. Oh, it was just this. They will go out of their way to discount or go through the mental gymnastics to come up with a alternative possibility. So again, there's not a point trying to hard argue it other than to stand by truth and present it honestly. And I think to fair-minded people, honestly presented truth shows it has an effect, and especially has a cumulative effect over time. But it's hard to use that as some kind of a gotcha evidence in debate. It doesn't really work that way. So, I mean, I don't hate debate. Like, I did debate in high school. I went to nationals with Lincoln Douglas debate in high school. I like debating stuff, but it's fun when there's no consequence to it. It's different when it's trivializing things that are fundamentally important to my existence. The next question, can people just come to the Hoffs uninvited? Yes, absolutely. So we prefer, if you plan to come to the Hoff, for you to let somebody know, and we can arrange somebody to be there for you. And we can, we do like to see who's going to show up and make sure they're not, dangerous or sketchy. But our Hoffs are places that exist in the real world. All of them are on Google Maps, and you can find exactly where they are. They're there, and you know when we're going to be there. And, our friends and our neighbors are welcome to stop by. So yeah, don't feel like that's something you can't do.
Something I put over my legs.
You can find them. They're there. They exist. It may seem like a small thing, but it's a really special thing for me to be able to, you look it up on Google Maps and it takes you, right to it. That's kind of a mark of it being official in today's world. Steve, can you talk about how you met Ron McVan, and do you have any stories about him?
Wow. Let me think. My God. I don't even remember how I met Ron.
Reinhold.
Huh?
He was a friend of Reinhold's.
Okay.
And he went out that time and did the little
Oh, yeah.
dance,
Yeah.
Reinhold
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Tony
God.
music.
Yeah, that's been, years and years. Ron McVan. He was staying with a guy up in the Northwest that I was invited to an event of some sort up there by, I guess, probably Reinhold.
Yeah.
Yeah. A guy who, well, actually, I like Ron a lot more than what I thought of the other guy. Ron came across as honest, in some ways even naive, absolutely well meant, with a sense of honor. I always liked Ron, still do. Although I haven't seen him in years and years and years. I don't know what he's up to. But Ron was a good guy, and I met him at this event up in the, like I said, in the Northwest that another guy was putting on. But Ron's, there's something about Ron that is so sincere, so straightforward, and very little self-attachment, as I remember him. I don't know that I would agree with him about everything he believes or has got, but I if he got in a fight, I'd be sitting in there with him. Yeah, one of those kind of guys. I don't know if that's the answer or the question exactly, but that's just my
No,
take.
that's fantastic. Good deal. All right. Well, on behalf of everybody that calls themselves Asatru, happy birthday, Steve. Thank you very much for being on the show tonight. Thank you very much for the heroic life that you continue to lead that has brought us here. It's been great to talk to you this evening. I appreciate you carving out time out of your birthday for us.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah,
It's always an honor to be here. Always good to talk with you. Always interesting to talk to the people that hang out and come through here. So it was a wonderful thing.
all right. Well, I will see you guys at the Hoff this weekend.
Yeah.
here's to many, many birthdays to come. And we're honored, so honored to have you on the show tonight. Till next time, guys, hail the ICEER, hail the folk, hail the AFA, and remember, victory never sleeps.
Great hanging out with you guys.